No gavel, you're right. Calling to order our truncated meeting of March 13, 2023. Please rise for the pledge being led by Donna Martin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We are obviously abbreviating this meeting so people can get home safe and sound. We have a big storm coming up. Advanced thanks to DPW for what they're going to be going through over the next 24 plus hours dealing with this. And for those watching, to the degree you can park off the street, please do, because it does make it very, very challenging. We have no overnight parking zones throughout the community that we don't really enforce too hard, especially on Front Street. But that's where, when they're plowing, you're not going to find your car sometimes because of what they have to do. So please use your heads on where you park tonight, if at all possible. Let us go to minutes. Can I get a motion that the minutes of the February 27, 2023 meeting be approved?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fondainza?
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion?
Yes, motion M, it was a roll call vote and I provided the explanation as to the vote.
But you might want to grab. Yep, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Motion M. It was a roll call vote. I provided an explanation for my vote. Can we just make sure that there's comment about I voted that way in regard to the comments from the ethics committee. Thanks.
Okay, with that change, I'm assuming Trustee Fondainza approves that change and Trustee Raymond accepts that on the second. So without further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to jump right now to public comment session. And Jennifer, also, if you want to make sure we have our folks lined up on Zoom to make sure everybody feels included in this. No problem. Okay, so if you're on Zoom, please make sure to raise your hand as normal. We are truncating to 2 minutes per speaker to try to get this expedited again in consciousness of this storm situation. So anybody in the house that would like to speak, please raise your hand. Paul Farnan, come on up to the dais over here. Over to the microphone over there, Paul. Yeah, look, we've introduced new technology and everything since last time you were visiting us. And just press the button on the microphone. It should turn green for you.
Paul Farnan, 27 Queen Street. On the original agenda, Trustee Cornwell was supposed to give a talk tonight on the water. Is that going to happen tonight?
We've taken all old business and new business off the agenda for this meeting because of what's going on. But I do want to say that for those that don't know, I invited the Revenue Advisory Board to reconvene concerning that issue. If you want to give us your quick thoughts, Paul, you have 2 minutes, so it's yours to use.
I have a quick thought on it. If she's going to propose something, I don't know when we're going to have a meeting, but could the advisory board have a copy of what she's putting together ahead of time or something?
Sounds like a great idea personally. That'll be up to her.
I'll say my comments for the, I'll comment that after everyone's done.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else in the house? Yes, Marilyn. Yeah, just if you walk in front, just be careful of the wires and everything. No, you're fine.
Apologize for being late, but I wanted to just
the name and address.
Marilyn Stevenson, 45 West High Street.
And speak straight into
Stevenson, STEPHENSON, 45 West High Street.
Go right ahead.
Apologize for being late, but I wanted to just add my comments regarding the social media commentary and information about Woods Hollow. I would just like to suggest that it's an important decision. It needs to be transparent. The community needs to be involved in a meaningful discussion. And originally that location, was wooded for watershed protection, for the protection of our aquifer. We no longer depend on surface water for our drinking water, but that doesn't mean that the land use that exists today is not needed. It is needed. It is still an important part of our water quality for the village drinking water. And although it has not been really developed or managed at a high level, it's still important to go through with the forest management of the property. Okay. And so I would just encourage the village trustees as a whole to thoughtfully consider having the Park and Tree Board or some other equivalent community village board of citizens, concerned citizens, to think about planning how to appropriately use that property. We live in a community where development is happening around us extensively, and our community is growing too. It's important that we value that property. And also think about it this way. It's probably one of the municipal owned properties that potentially is a park or could be enhanced as a park that's not in a floodplain.
15 seconds.
Okay, so I just would ask you to thoughtfully take that into consideration and get the public involved in any future plans and to do a plan for that property. Thank you.
Just as an FYI, with respect to Woods Hollow, the only water effect that's been identified by engineers is the fact that we have a water main that does go underneath it, that we would put an easement to ourselves to before conveying it. That would have to be honored by any future owner to ensure that that water main has access for us still should we need it. So just wanted everybody to be aware of that as well. Anybody else in the house? Anybody? As we lose our feed again there, but we'll be back. There you go. Well, in the meantime, anybody on Zoom?
Well, I can't vote.
I know. Who you got?
Christine, Fitzpatrick.
Thank you. Christine, go ahead.
Hello, and thank you. Christine Fitzpatrick, 31 Chapman Street, Ballston Spa, New York. I want to reiterate what Marilyn said, which I think was a very good point. My concerns this evening are about Woods Hollow. And I would like to strongly suggest that the board, I very much like Marilyn's suggestion that it be something looked at by the Park and Tree Board as well. But I think that we need a public hearing on this so that the public is fully informed. It is very clear from the newspaper article and from the Facebook posting today that Mayor Rossi did that the town of Milton wants this property. I'm not so sure it is in the interests or of the folks in the village or that they want it. I was at a meeting last week where there were a number of people who were both village residents and Milton residents, and there were a number of concerns. And the concern, well, first of all, the response, one of the things was that there is not, what Milton has said that they have been doing from their point of view. Now, granted, they don't know everything, but that not much had been done by the town of Milton in terms of maintaining it. And also there was a lot of concern about water. There was a concern about keeping it very much the way it was and not bringing things into the environment which would negatively affect us over years. And there was also concern about the logging and how it would be done and what the proceeds would be used for, and that logging funds could, if we maintained it, be kept to used for that purpose. Finally, I wanted to say about the posting on Facebook today that there was in addition to Woods Hollow, there was a talk about meaningful, somehow the plowing
10 seconds, Christine.
in Colonial Hills got in there somehow. And I hope that there isn't more. The Woods Hollow should be dealt with separately. It should not be part of a bigger quote unquote deal, in my opinion. And finally, Facebook is not the official vehicle for the village. I've said this time and time again. I really hope somebody will hear me that communicating via Facebook does not include everybody. Thank you thank you for extending my time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Christine. Thank you. Anybody else on the Zoom? Anybody else in the crowd? I will take that as a yes, as Gina Morosi apparently walks up. Hold on one second though, as I have to go back to video here. Go right ahead.
Gina Morosi, 10 Old Glory Lane. 10.
I didn't get the last name.
I am here to discuss the events that occurred after the last board meeting. First, let me emphasize, Ben, I am my own person. No one is responsible for what I say or what I do other than myself. I will not be controlled by anyone, even though you tell my brother time and time again he needs to control me. But I digress. Due to the ridiculous rule that the trustees get the last word at the meetings, I approached Trustee Baskin after the meeting and said to him, for the record, Mayor Wilbright resigned because of you and Liz. There'll be more on that topic at the next meeting when I have more time, because I actually sat down and interviewed Mayor Wilbright, unlike anyone on this board. Baskin then proceeded to mock me. He raised his hand and put it into my face, so close that I had to lean back, and he called me a rotten person. Luckily, I have several witnesses to this. Is this acceptable behavior by an elected official? Is this the way a man is supposed to treat a woman? Are you all okay with a man mocking, name calling, saying a woman needs to be controlled like a dog on a leash, and him putting his hand in her face? Earlier that same meeting, Baskin, who said he was on a tour with John Cromie, and I'll take this up with Cromie later, accused my family of violating village zoning laws with our property on Saratoga Ave. This is a blatant lie. My brother Tony applied for and received a variance to build on that property. He followed the rules of the village. Unlike your buddy that you're trying to protect with the ADU legislation you are attempting to push through. It frightens me that you don't know about variances, Ben, and you're a member of the planning board of the town of Ballston. I'm sick and tired of you using your elected position to harass and abuse myself and my family.
15 seconds.
It stops here and now. I will do anything in my power to see to that. Lastly, I responded to your hand in my face by calling you a little girl. For some reason, that's the part of the story that your pal Keith has chosen to focus on social media. He says it was sexist, but apparently, and not surprisingly, he has no problem with the way Baskin treats women. I do, however, agree with him on one thing. It was very wrong of me to compare any little girl to Ben Baskin.
Please finish.
And his disgusting behavior. No little girl deserves that ever.
Anybody else in the house?
I've got Pete lives online if you want to go back to Zoom.
Oh, why not?
Keith Lewis, 38 East 9th Street, Ballston spot. So since I'm being brought into the conversation, I'm not really sure why. I'm going to go ahead and respond. First off, Saratoga Avenue was put 2 buildings on the property and was not given clearance. The building inspector did not give clearance for that property because 2 buildings were put. It came up in front of the zoning. I can forward you the minutes if you'd like, Gina. It came up in front of the zoning board, and the zoning board kind of explained that it needed to be divided into 2 pieces of property, or it needed to be shown hardship in order to pass through. And in spite of their suggestions, in order for a use variance, it to be done according to the law, it wasn't done according to the law, and the variance was still granted. So you're right on one thing, a variance was granted, but you're incorrect in the fact that it was followed by the guidelines. It was not. Now, as far as an ADU, I have not vocally spoken out for or against an ADU, but I do think if we're going to have people apply for them, that we should have some sort of communal treatment where everyone is treated equally, not where insiders such as yourself, Gina, and your family, who have received certain favors over the course of time, are given special privileges. As an example, it would be the situation with that building on Saratoga Avenue. It's a special consideration, not afforded everyone else. I don't believe in a government that should be done in that way. I think the government should be equal in its treatment of people. Lastly, in regards to the comment on Ben Baskin, yes, Gina, I think when you throw your cigarettes out the window and claim to be supporting the fire department,
10
you are
seconds, and
not
please
in fact
address
supporting
the
fire
panel,
department.
not the audience,
And I
Keith. Please
also
address the
believe-
panel.
Frank, I think that you should speak out when someone does something like that, just as you speak out constantly against other trustees and other people, myself included. You have no problem picking and choosing who you want to criticize, but you certainly are not doing it uniformly. And that's not what fair and equal government is about, and it's not what the residents of Ballston Spa deserve. Thank you.
And you're welcome for the extra time. Anybody in the audience? Okay, let us go to motions. I'm sorry, board. I always do it. Accidentally.
I'd like
You
to,
need a microphone.
I'd like to respond to.
You need a microphone.
I'd like to, sorry, can you hear me? Okay, I'd like to respond to Paul. I was going to give an overview of what I found by researching the data that I requested last August and got in November, and still actually haven't gotten all the data I requested, but I was able to do some analysis of it, and I wanted to share that. But I fully agree with the idea of reconvening the Revenue Advisory Group to look over the details of what I found and some suggested changes to the rate system. So I think the only person we haven't heard from is Carrie, and we can set up meetings, and I can show you what the recent data has shown. One of the things to note, though, that in 2020 there were about 477 no reports that had not sent in their actual meter readings. Unfortunately, that is only down 100. There's 374 still, even with the $50 fine. So that is another topic that we need to look at, is how do we encourage people to report? The only positive about the $50 fine is it did bring in about $40,000 a year in fees. So we did collect a little bit more money, but I'll, communicate with everybody. We'll find a convenient meeting time.
We're just asking if we can get a copy ahead of time,
Well, I think,
but you need to tell.
oh,
You need to tell.
no, I don't have a exact copy. I have a lot of data, some charts and stuff, which, if we want, I can share with the public, but I think it's usually better to have the committee look at them and comment before we make them public.
Whatever.
So I think you're on the same wavelength there. I think he's suggesting, could you share them? You were saying with the committee, absolutely. So if you want to start emailing them to the committee, that would probably be a good idea to start moving along. Just a thought.
Is the 400 people that don't turn in, is that a year or is that every 6 months?
It varies, from one period to the next, but it's in that range.
400 every 6 months?
I can actually tell you, let me see. Yeah, no reports in total in the first part of 2022 was 424 people, and it was down to 374 in the second collect. Yeah, so it goes.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Also, one thing to note, comp plan comments, because somebody on the panel had invited everybody to wait till Monday to submit them. We will be circulating them tomorrow, just in case we got any today. I forgot to tell you that, Marilyn. So, and Peter as well. Apologize for the extra 1 day delay, but it'll give you a week to review them. Not too many. It's not too voluminous. So It should be pretty easy, and I'll put a memo on top of it just to explain just what we're giving you basically in that. So tomorrow we'll get that to you. Well, tomorrow we'll get it to you in somebody's email, because I'm not sure we'll be actually at the office tomorrow. Anybody else? Sure, go ahead.
I'd just like to make this response. I know that in the past, back in under previous administrations, it would have never been allowed for a person to approach the table and verbally accost a trustee. That was just would be considered completely out of order and inappropriate. And I do hope at some point that we can get back to that type of level of decorum that we've seen in the past, because it's simply, you do have your comment period, but to try to extenuate that by cornering the trustee at the table, I just don't think is appropriate. And if it's something you want to have a further discussion, I'm certain you can make an appointment with that trustee or have a conversation. I just don't think it's appropriate to come up and, verbally accost people at the table. Thank you.
Actually, it brings up actually a good point, because somebody that discussed trustee office hours in the village offices in past meetings, and nobody's ever taken anybody up on that. So maybe that's a good thing to start instituting down the line. Ben, I see your microphone is on. I'm going to assume you want to say something.
Yeah, thanks, Sean, for those comments. I just want to respond to Christine Maryland's concerns. And I share those concerns and making sure that this sale happens appropriately and with all the protections needed to preserve that property. I personally, and I'm going to propose to the board, I'd be comfortable publicly discussing the terms of this sale if Milton is also publicly comfortable doing this. And I know it's not typically done when you're doing a sale, particularly with a private person. Here's two municipalities, so the public has interest in both the sale and the purchase. And I don't know that it would change the price or influence the terms in any negative way to hear what people have to say about the proposed terms. So I haven't consulted with our lawyer about that, but it's something I feel very comfortable proposing anyway.
Your attorney looks like she just saw a ghost. Bernadette?
Excuse me. After seeing Carla's head shake no, I don't think I'm necessarily comfortable talking about this in public, because a lot of the parameters seem to have changed and everybody suddenly changed their mind. So I'd like to discuss more directly with you guys what happened. So I don't think we're there yet. And I'd like to take the advice of counsel in this regard.
I just want to clarify. I agree. If we're still, really far from the final, it does make sense to just figure out what is our final goal here. But once we get there, I think it would be good to air out what we're thinking of doing.
I was a little surprised to see the Facebook posts because it did describe some of the terms. And other than what Scott Ostrander told the press, he also, put it out in the public. But I thought we were under, confidentiality on the terms. So I was a little surprised that the mayor laid it out on Facebook.
So I did check with counsel this weekend. She asked me not to share it and asked others not to move forward with this in a way, shape, or form until Ballston Spa Friends for Change, which is run by you, Ben, and Keith, loosely Liz, this morning decided you can stop now.
On
Thank
that
you.
Facebook, I have no connection to that.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So thank you. Nonetheless, it appeared on there and it had untrue information, which actually was going to do further harm to the negotiating, which I will not get into the level of harm already from the last few days, but it was time to set the record straight and to be transparent to the folks in the village and to the town of Milton where we are, what's been happening. Mike, you had asked me, I think a couple of meetings ago, what was going on, and I gave you as much information as I could at that point in time because I believe in that transparency level. And we've been trying to do that as much as possible. And once that went out, and Carla can be mad at me, and she probably is, but I said it was time to get that record straight. So in terms of actual terms, there were actual prices listed and any durations or anything like that, just general concepts. And so the terms are not public per se. And so that was carefully done, but she did not say that anything violated executive type session or confidentiality material. And so it was up to me at that point to determine what to do with transparency in this situation. I thought it was time to let folks see where we were. So, okay, let us move on to agenda items here. Can I get a motion that the attached budget transfers be approved? The attached as modified earlier, I would say.
Make a motion.
How are they,
Oh, sorry.
how are they modified?
You would request that things go to contingency instead of fund balance.
And that happened?
Yes.
All right.
So as modified and motion by trustee Fondainza, second by trustee Raymond. Discussion.
Yes, I'd like to.
You got to use that microphone.
I'm glad that it was changed from fund balance because I don't believe these types of expenses, particularly the utilities and phone and internet costs, overages should be taken out of fund balance. The recommended procedure is to first look within the department to see if there's some funds that can be shifted from another category that haven't been spent yet and put into that category. And we see those kinds of transfers up to this point. We've seen those, or from another department potentially. And then the next resort is to look to the contingency, and we started adding a contingency basically the year I took office so that we would have some cushion if expenses didn't come out where they were. The last thing you do is look to the fund balance to do this. But I'd like to express another concern. We have utility costs for municipal building 30, central garage, increase, God, this microphone doesn't work, increased fuel costs.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's do that.
you're talking on the side of it, so it's not picking up.
It might also be a battery issue.
Directly.
No, okay. Fuel costs and phone and internet costs, those are recurring costs. And this report as of, I think, the end of February, my concern is are they out of that budget already? And then all the costs in those categories will be exceeded in the last 3 months of the year. And where's the money going to come from there? So we're running into, that issue. And I think we need to seriously look at where maybe we can restrict some discretionary funding to make sure we can cover it. And also to make sure that we're in the middle of doing next year's budget, that we allocate enough dollars in those categories to cover these new higher costs.
Okay, you give me about 14 things I have to respond to there to give you your answers to those questions. First off, when Barbara comes to me asking about what to do about overages, we generally try to estimate for the year. A couple of them we may not have because it was uncertain about just where they were going to be by the end of the year, but we try to. Number two, she did a search in Edmonds to see if contingency was used in the past before she arrived, and it was not. So she was doing consistent to what the past was. Also, what you had shown us today was actually options for what to do in the case of an overage in a line. It wasn't a rank order from what I could read of it. So unless you left out some text, they took out the context. So I'm not sure. But it was options. Option one of them was fund balance, and that was the one that was being utilized. It becomes 6 of one, half dozen the other. You have contingency left at the end of the year, it goes into fund balance. So in one way or another, it's fund balance principle. And with respect to future budgeting, one of the first things we did was when we had our department meetings, and I explained this last week during the budget workshops, we looked at every line and did the standing as of January 31st, which is 8 months into the budget year, and tried to do the math, boosting it by 50% to see where it fell compared to what was budgeted. And then if we were way out of line, high or low, we've asked the department chair to essentially, or department head to explain to us what was going on. Did something get miscoded? Barbara would chase it down to see if that was what happened or not. And we would make the fixes on the fly to what the budget requests were. This was especially important in something like DPW, where things were definitely getting miscoded, but things also needed to be handled in terms of overruns with fuel, et cetera. So we were in real time predicting what increases next year should look like in respect to what we were facing already this year, plus 50%, to make sure we were covered for next year's numbers when we put down the ultimate requests. So what you saw on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was a result of that first pass by us to make sure that we were covered in that respect, because we've known that we've had a fuel shortage for some reason in our budget lines for literally about a month and a half, and we're not sure why, but we're having to respond to it, and we are.
Do we have a prediction of what those are going to, we're going to have more transfers next month and next month to make up for these categories?
Not all of them. As I just said a little bit ago, it is going to be most of the cases we're trying to predict for the remainder of the year. And a couple of them we're not doing that because it's just too unpredictable. And we wanted to see what develops over another month or so and then figure out the rest of the year at that point. So that's where we're at with that right now. Things like snow, unfortunately, with the storm like tonight's or tomorrow mornings or however it's going to fall. We thought we were great on salt for a while, and then we're basically going through it like nothing. So it is what it is at this point in time. So we have to respond to it. That's not discretionary spending. And last time I checked, I don't think your residents think it's discretionary. So we have to make sure we provide for it. So having done all that discussion, are we good to vote at this point? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that the BSBPA be granted permission to conduct concerts in the park at Iron Spring Park on 6/29, 7/6, 7/13, 7/20, 7/27, 8/3, 8/10, 8/17, and 8/24 from 6 to 8 p.m. Proof of liability insurance has been provided. Trustee Fondainsa. Trustee Cormos, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that the BSBPA be granted to conduct movies in the park in Wiswall Park starting at dusk on 6/2, rain date 6/3, 7/7, rain date 7/8, and 8/4, rain date 8/5. Proof of insurance has been provided. Trustee Fondainsa. Trustee Cormos, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Motion, can I have, please, that the BSPL be authorized to submit a grant application for the Catholic campaign to the William Gundry Boughton Charitable Private Foundation Incorporated. That's a public library for those that don't know. Trustee Cormos. That's Trustee Fondainsa. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that, too many that's there, but my bad. The Ballston Spa High School After Prom Party Committee be granted by the Village of Ballston Spa $775 to sponsor the bouncy house rentals for this year's After Prom Party.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Raymond. Trustee Baskin, discussion. Sean, did you have any idea where you wanted that to come out of? Because I meant to ask you that when you proposed it.
I guess we need to look, what do we have left on the bench?
For current, for stuff other than, let's say, Easter egg hunt, which is before, I don't think much, but we could go to contingency if we need to, if you want to. I just want to make sure that you don't have something specific.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think if you had something left for events and then cover whatever else you could.
We didn't do the Winterfest, so there should be something there.
I'm seeing head shakes, but from folks that know better than me on what's being spent, what or when. So, oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. A school
That's where we would
event isn't
transfer it
technically
out.
Village. What's that? So contingency, is that where we're landing if need be?
Well, if the Festival, if there's funds in the events line, that would be the first place before contingency, I would think.
There's not for the Winterfest because it was earmarked money from Slick is what they're saying. And that was for village purposes. So we can't just convert it for school district purpose. Either way, again, it goes to contingency ultimately if that's the case. So
I'm fine.
yeah. So just want to make sure. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Charles Fisher be appointed as a part-time police officer? Trustee Fondainza. Trustee Cormos, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Edward Ackley be appointed as a part-time police officer? Trustee Fondainza.
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that the attached resolution related to fire truck capital reserve account be approved? Trustee Fondainza. Trustee Raymond, discussion. We have a discussion item here for the attorney. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that this is the fund where you're creating. It's subject to permissive referendum. So it's not effective for 30 days. There is a blank in the resolution that I don't know the answer to, and I was hoping the board could help me. The entire maximum cost of the fire truck, how much are you putting ultimately into the fund? You have to put that in the resolution.
I think an absolute maximum should be, if the intent is for the engine truck, $2.5 million. It probably will never reach there, but at least it covers what the price of equipment might be in the future for them. That makes sense?
It's up to the board.
I'm looking past you, actually. I'm sorry. That was my bad.
Can you say that again?
I need to know how much the maximum cost would be for the capital reserve account because you have to put it in the resolution. And the mayor indicated it may be 2.5 million for one truck.
For the engine, their ladder truck. So
It wouldn't be, you wouldn't be spending all of that, but that's how much you would put in.
Okay.
is that revisable through another permissive referendum later if they wanted to?
It is, but you could also keep it in there because it could be used for future fire trucks. Because this is for a fire truck. You could use it for this fire truck or if they have another fire truck.
So I thought you were consulting with the fire department. They say how much they think?
No, we actually didn't get the question. She didn't ask me the question about what the number was. So I didn't ask them, but I do know what the value of that truck is or expected to be over the next few years, which is around $2 million. I'd say put enough cover in there just in case it's more than that. Let's say it's a few years down the line, because Lord knows they aren't pumping those things out very fast right now.
So do I understand that this fund, they can use it for more than one truck?
Yes, but only trucks, not like fly cars or chief cars or
Okay,
equipment or
yeah,
anything.
but the trucks are the expensive things, so.
We can't make it more flexible.
I'm sorry?
We can't make it more flexible. It has to be for trucks only.
Well, that was why I had two different resolutions put together.
Their intent here, they had a choice of either fire truck or fire equipment. If it was fire equipment, it would have had to be no permissive referendum up front, but every time they wanted to use the money, there was a risk of a permissive referendum. Now think of what could happen there if 10% of the people from the last state or general election that voted put their names on a petition. It would force a referendum and they couldn't spend the money until that referendum occurred, which could be months down the line if that were to ever happen. Right now, what they're facing is a referendum up front if it were to happen, and that's it.
That makes sense.
So do I accept that?
So is that what we're putting into?
You want me to read it?
Do I want to read the whole resolution?
Do we have to?
Do you guys really want to hear the whole resolution?
Not really.
Okay, no.
Best attorney ever.
There's only two whereas.
Plenty of therefores. Okay, so as modified, I guess now, and Bernadette, were you the first on that, I believe?
Yes.
And the second was Sean. You're good with that?
Yes.
Are you good with us moving forward with a vote at this point?
Just adding it to the resolution.
Should it be a roll call vote?
I would do it as a roll call.
Madam Clerk?
Trustee Raymond,
Aye.
trustee Baskin, trustee Cormos,
Aye.
trustee Van Denza,
And I'm very grateful to the fire department for being so responsible with their funds and being able to do this so that they can save up and plan for their trucks.
Mayor Rossi,
Last I talked to Mike Bayshore, who's our future chief, he didn't believe we would actually finally do this. And my message back to Mike Bayshore and the fire department is, yes, we will. When we need to do something for our fire department, we will get it done in this government. Yes. Can I get a motion setting a public hearing related to proposed local law number 3 of 2023 entitled Article 2 Official Year for Monday, March 27th, 2023 at 7:01 p.m. Trustee Raymond, trustee Van Denza, discussion. Roll call on this one or no? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we will be going into executive session once I get a motion and a second for that.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Van Denza, and then the trustee Raymond, and it is for the purposes of litigation update, contract, real estate discussion, and possibly personnel. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. If you don't return, there is expected action to be taken after this. I will tell you that. So, I know you've noticed they are.
You say that same email?
Actually, what?
$3, how much that costs to go through. All right, you're all back up, so. Just keep that in mind.
We are back from executive session. We have action to take. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Madam Attorney, would you like to hit number 1?
So as you know, the Ballston 2 had brought an Article 7 proceeding against the village, the town of Ballston, and the Ballston Central School District. And we have come to a resolution on that. And there's a resolution you all have before you with respect to the settlement. And my question to you is, do you want to move forward on that resolution? And if so, do you want me to read the resolution?
Who would like to move for the resolution?
Do you want me to read it?
You can read the entirety if you'd like.
It's not that long. I'm just, because
Yeah,
I don't know
I
if anybody
noticed.
has it in front of you. All right.
She'll
I'll
read it.
read the resolution and then you can make your motions if you want to. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ballston Spa hereby approves the settlement of the 2021-2022 real property tax law Article 7 proceedings entitled in the matter of the application for a review under Article 7 of the real property tax law of the tax assessment of Ballston 2 LLC versus the assessor of the town of Ballston. As follows. The assessed value of the parcel for assessment year 2021 shall be $6,133,000. The assessed value of the parcel for assessment year 2022 shall be $5,482,375. Be it further resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes counsel for the village to sign the appropriate stipulation and order of settlement, and further authorizes the treasurer to issue refunds based on the settlement amount.
Can we have a motion for that resolution?
Did you send this to us tonight?
Nope, I sent it to you on the 9th.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Raymond,
I'll second.
Trustee Fandane said discussion. All in favor? Yeah, on a roll call. I will administer the roll call. Trustee Raymond,
Aye.
Trustee Baskin,
Aye.
Trustee Cormos,
Aye.
Trustee Fandane,
Aye.
Mayor Rossi is an aye. Can I get a motion changing the position of Deputy Treasurer to a position with an appointment that is concurrent with the Treasurer's appointment, but including a 6-month probationary period for anybody employed and appointed into that position?
What do you mean? First part.
Basically, it doesn't put an open-ended forever. They have to be reappointed ultimately, just like a treasurer would have to be. And we're doing concurrent with their official years. This was something we caught later too, as a concern about what that all meant.
So how does that work if our official year starts first in June and then it'll start in June?
The treasurer's appointment, it
Your
goes,
official year, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, your official year is not going to be June, it's going to be January. Your fiscal year is not changing.
Yeah, but this year it's still June.
No, your fiscal year is not changing. It will always be June.
correct.
Your official year will be January 1st. So this year, the reason that you did the motion today to set the public hearing for the next meeting for changing the official year, so you can get it done before April 1st.
The treasurer's appointment is not over until the following year currently. So that's why I stated it to be concurrent with the treasurer's appointment.
That's over when exactly the following year?
It would be a year and a half from now, basically, or a year and 9 months from now.
I'll make a motion.
Trustee Fandane,
I'll second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion. Just out of abundance of clarity, briefly here, we had discussions and look back at things that were said at the last go of this discussion, and we want to make sure that we have enough support for our treasurer, who has remained with us and is still with us during the budget process, and want to make sure that we're also getting candidates of a sufficient quality in the door to make sure that we have the best team possible inside the treasurer's realm with deputy treasurer. Would that be a good consensus on that?
Yeah, just tell me what the dates are on these terms.
It goes, the term for treasurer goes until December 31st, 2024. So this would go with it. So that basically you would have a tandem of a treasurer and deputy treasurer that would be working together. You wouldn't have, let's say, a complete disaster scenario where you have a treasurer that doesn't want to work with a certain deputy treasurer and neither can be dealt with.
Okay.
You don't want open-ended appointments. That's one thing
Okay.
that could be a disaster. Okay, go ahead.
All right, we're in discussion. Yes, there's not board interest in the pumping that position up to full-time and rearranging the other positions or eliminating, reducing other positions.
I mean, I think it's worth looking into in the future, but I think the benefits and the costs related to that are just, a little high, so I'd like to see how it's working out with this configuration currently, or that we're proposing.
I think it's a lot high if we make it full-time because of the benefit ratio is north of 40%.
It would be a lot. Yep.
So that you have to add that on and our village hall budget is already up at the top.
That's why I would talk about looking at other positions. But I recognize that it's more if it's full-time than a part-time position. So I wouldn't do that without looking at other positions.
Deputy clerk, though, is also an appointed position that has I believe, 2024 concurrency. And clerk, the same thing. Jennifer is now basically DPW typist as much as anything else in the office. So, I mean, you wouldn't have much option to do anything for the time being. So as Bernadette's saying, doing what we can right now to see how it works, see if it relieves some of the pressure off of the treasurer, I think is worth seeing and doing.
Mm-hmm. So I guess if the treasurer leaves and the applicant pool is not what we'd like it to be, hopefully we revisit because we'd probably get probably higher qualified applicants with a full-time position, I would think.
I think you always reserve that right, no matter what the situation is. So that doesn't really surprise me for you to say it. So,
but just the other point is if we are, for example, eliminating a position, do we not have the ability to do that when we see the need? I mean, I know the positions exist, the people are there, but often organizations restructure as needed and some positions are eliminated. Are we bound to some timeline, Carla, in doing
It's
that?
not filled.
Well, can we eliminate it? Is what I'm saying. If the time is such that we need to reorganize it any time during the year, do we have the ability to restructure or do we have to wait until a certain time?
You have to wait till the appointment is done.
You have to wait.
yes.
Yeah, that way, you just don't refill the.
Yep. Welcome to municipal.
All right. Thank you.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to adjourn after the vouchers being audited at?
Excuse me, did we do the motion to do our official year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
We'll have the public hearing 7:01 p.m. in 2 weeks. Now let me actually do the motion correctly. Can I motion that the vouchers be audited, the meeting be adjourned at 8:34 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Raymond.
Second.
Trustee Cormos, we'll give it to her. Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Everybody be safe out there. Meeting is adjourned.
Oh, you got the same thing?
Yes.